Everybody, welcome to this episode of Think Business. Want to welcome fractional analyst Jack Tompkins on the show. Jack, it's great to connect with you today and talk a little bit about your company, Pineapple Consulting Firm, and really kind of dive into talking about numbers. You guys are all about data-driven decisions. Think community, as you know, I'm a business coach, and I work with successful people who are stuck and get them unstuck. And this podcast is all about having guests on the show that are in alignment with my mission of getting my clients and the listeners unstuck. And so what I'm looking forward to today to talk about, Jack, is data can get people unstuck. And there's two levels of data the way I look at it. One is, I love the quote, if you don't bring data to the meeting, I'll have to use my own opinion. But then there's the Sam Walton element of data, which is take all the data, then go to the local diner, talk to your customers, and then go back to the boardroom and figure out what data is meaningful. And so let's talk about those two, right? What type of data you need to bring to the table and how to decipher which data you actually need to use to make a decision.
Right. It's such a good distinction. And thanks again for having me on. I'm excited.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you being on.
It's such a good distinction too, because right. So everybody knows that data has a lot of value and, oh man, I should be knowing my numbers and all this stuff. But when it comes down to it, I find that half the people that are struggling with data, I should say, half the people aren't looking at it enough, and half of the people are looking at it too much. So they get into that analysis paralysis. To your second point, well, what actually matters, right? And so that is a very, very common situation to be in. Obviously not the worst because you have the data, but then, okay, let's focus on what truly matters. Such a good point.
So how do you decide what matters? What type of data, what are some of the 1, 2, or 3 pieces of data that are key to bringing to the table to help make a decision? In today's market, in today's world, data is so important so we can look at indicators and forecast, right? As somebody who works with solopreneurs to Fortune companies and everything in between, everybody's looking for that piece of data to forecast something. And so what are some of the key elements of data that we need to bring to the meeting?
Yeah. So I like to separate it into 3 main buckets.
Good. I like buckets. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's financial is number 1, marketing and sales number 2, and then operational is number 3. So I get the question all the time of what KPI should I be looking at or things like that. The best thing I can do, because everybody knows their business better than I do, right? So the best thing I can do, which I talk about frequently in presentations and with clients and stuff like that, is just figuring out the framework to decide on what's the next piece that you're going to do or the next part of your business that you're going to forecast, to your point.
Yeah.
And so building that framework, it starts very simple of what's the one big thing? What's the squeaky wheel? Or what keeps you up at night, right? And so from there, the easy one, right? If you just go financial and you go revenue or profit, okay, well, we need to grow our revenue. Great. That's going to lead to 3 or 4 other questions. Well, how is our marketing doing? Let's get an ROI on some of our marketing efforts. Are we as efficient as we can be? You get an operational metric in there too. So whatever that one big thing is that sticks out and everybody has it, they can't sleep until they figure it out kind of thing, start there.
Yeah.
And then the next things will very much reveal themselves just by thinking through it a little bit.
I love it. Let's talk about thinking through it, because there's data and then there's intuition, right? And so talk about, there's data, intuition, and then opinion, I guess. And so how do you guide people as a fractional analyst to say, okay, I hear your opinion, here's the data, now let's tap into our instincts, right? And look at trends and things of that nature. So I'm big into intuition and gut and instincts. And I think, there's what's the blend that you suggest?
Absolutely. So a lot of people see me in my business being so data focused. They think that the gut isn't involved at all. The gut is an enormous piece. It is almost a 50-50 split depending on the business or the problem, because all the data in the world can tell you whatever it tells you. But if it doesn't make sense, it could mean that something's wrong, or your business just might not be going the way the data is showing. So the balance has to be there, and it probably is close to 50-50 in a lot of ways,
Yeah.
because things that don't come through with data is, does this employee, if they need to be better, right? Do they like the work that they're doing?
Yeah.
And maybe that'll show up in the data, but that's a conversation, right? Dealing with clients, is what is their business model? And if one piece says, oh my goodness, we can make so much money doing XYZ, but their business model isn't that, and they don't want
Yeah.
it to be that, then we're not going to do XYZ, right? So
Yeah.
that is a very, very healthy conversation to have.
I love that. Let me ask you this, kind of a mini speed round before we get to the speed round. One piece of data, the most important piece of data that a CEO should be looking at.
Ooh, interesting. I think a lot of it comes down to efficiency. And so that's
Okay.
going to be different for a lot of businesses. And mine, consulting companies, something like hourly rate, manufacturing, obviously process efficiency, stuff like that. So what the
Okay.
main task that you do is, how efficient are you?
Okay. The number one piece of data that managers should be looking at.
Hmm. Um, Something employee specific. So I have a lot of clients that are now doing like an ROI by employee. And so
Okay.
some way to gauge your employee's performance that you can put number to, because obviously you're going to have a conversation with us, which is the gut instinct part of it, but having
Good.
some number around performance, something like an ROI.
Good. I like it. And the number one last piece on this is, and the number one piece of data a salesperson should be looking at.
Percent to goal.
Yeah. There we go.
Yeah, that's
All
an
right,
easy
good.
one.
Yeah, I like it. Okay, good. And so when let's just talk about what a fractional analyst does. What type of company is in need of a fractional analyst?
So I've got clients all over the place, from solopreneurs to 250 person employee or 250 person companies, and even a Fortune 500 in there as well. But it's folks that know that there's a whole lot of value in their data, but don't have the resources to get at it effectively.
Okay.
So
All right,
that's
good.
building dashboards, et cetera, et cetera.
Good. I love it. All right, you ready for a quick speed round?
Yep, let's do it.
All right. Book that's had the biggest impact on you.
Profit first.
Okay, that's a good one. That's a good one. Best piece of wisdom you've ever received.
Be yourself in business, because it gets personal.
Nice. One piece of data that people usually get stuck on. Too stuck on.
Getting stuck on.
Unnecessarily stuck on, maybe. Let me say that.
Yeah, leads. A lot of people
Uh-huh.
get too deep in the weeds with leads.
Okay. All right, good. Finish this sentence. One thing, when I'm looking at everything in my company, if I zoom out and as an observer, one of the first things I should zoom back in and look at when it comes to data is?
I'm actually going to go employee. So employee satisfaction. That's a kind of an off the beat portion of data, but that's a big one.
Well, that's a really big one, especially right now. I mean, in a hybrid work world where people are in and out of the office, it's really important to keep your people engaged. Management is a whole new world. It's a whole new world of management, because you can't walk and talk like you could back in the pre-COVID days when everybody came back into the office.
Exactly.
All right, I like that. Tell everybody how they can connect with you and who your ideal clients are, Jack.
Best way to connect is my website, pineapplecf.com, short for pineappleconsultingfirm.com. All sorts of examples, ways to contact me, email, all that stuff. Ideal clients for me, around 30 to 40 employees. But obviously, to my point earlier, can be more or less than that. And again, folks that are looking to get to that next level of data driven.
Yeah, I love it. Then community, if you're stuck in figuring out what your numbers are, understanding what your numbers are, knowing what data points you need to look at, and you can't seem to kind of get to the next level because you're looking at the wrong numbers or don't know what numbers to look at, sounds like Jack can help you get unstuck in that arena. And so, Jack, I appreciate you coming on the show and sharing kind of your expertise as a fractional analyst. Numbers are important. Like I said, one of my favorite new quotes is, if you don't bring facts and data to the meeting, I'll just use my own opinion. And so data is really important. As long as you kind of use your gut, like you're talking about, and know really the data that's important. In community, if Jack can help you get unstuck, please reach out to him. And if I can help you get unstuck, or anything I can help you with your coaching needs, don't hesitate to reach out. I have a free time management course and a bunch of courses coming online for free that you can get to at jondwoskin.com that will get you unstuck, and you can check out some of my other coaching options. Jack, this has been a pleasure. Really look forward to listening to this one again, because I think the data elements are really important. Thanks so much for being on the show. Think Community, thank you. Jack, appreciate your time.
Thanks so much, John.